Hi, I'm Dave Sherwood, the CEO of BibliU. I'm here to introduce you to Campus Convos, the podcast where we discuss all things tech and education. Hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe on wherever you listen to your podcasts, and please give a share to others interested in the space.
Welcome back to Campus Convos. Joining me this week, we're talking about the Student Champion Scheme. And we've got Sahaana Shankar, who's currently a project manager at BibliU and previously student at Coventry University and part of that champion scheme. And Dal Badesha, the head of learning resources and student experience at Coventry University. I should obviously make clear that Coventry's been a great, awesome partner of ours for many years now. And we've helped them work through various different strategic initiatives. Initially, they were looking to get all their content into the library system. We helped them do that. That was a bit of a first. They had the biggest digital scheme in Europe. And then more recently, they've been leading the charge to OER. And I'm sure Dal will touch on that a little bit. But really what we're here to talk about today is the Student Champion Scheme. And really the sort of tie to the key student outcome, which is employment and, leading from great university degrees to great jobs. So great to have you both here, Sahaana and Dal. So first, I'm going to kick us off with a more general topic. Be helpful to get your perspectives from each of you on what do you think the most exciting technological and socio-economic trends are in higher education in the UK at the moment. Maybe Sahaana, you go first.
I think one of the trends is cost. So socioeconomically, students can't afford, textbooks anymore. The debt is kind of too real, I think. The pressure is huge. So the Student Champion schemes, I think that guarantees day one access for almost every student. And I think that's absolutely vital for equity. Also, technologically, I think I'd say the shift is that physical books aren't really the default thing that people choose anymore. We kind of pick and expect tools to adapt to us in a way. So I think one good example is Google's Notebook LM. I'm not sure if you have heard about that, but it's a platform where you can upload any articles and you can basically create your own personalized study guide. So I think that's a really good one. So kind of active personalization is what we expect, I think.
Cool. Google LM's an interesting one. I've played with it a bit myself. I always find generally, though, I want to make content shorter. So rather than watching a video, just read a few bullet points, or rather than reading an article, just read a few bullet points. Have you used the LM a lot and listened to long periods of it talking about the topics?
Some of it, yes. There are some topics that I am interested, but I can't really put much time into it. So I just randomly collect stuff and then I put it into that, and then it gives me a video so I can listen to it in my free time while I'm doing something in the background. So I think that's been really helpful. Yeah,
nice. It's super cool that some of these things are, they've been released very soon after the original GPT 3 made waves, and pretty exciting to see what will come next. And Dal, what about you? So we're talking here about technology and socioeconomic trends in higher education in the UK right now. What do you feel are the main ones? What are you most excited about?
And it sounds a bit corny saying AI, but definitely AI and data-informed learning is something that's exciting right now. And it's the way you utilize that really to kind of personalize education. So we're seeing a shift towards open and sustainable learning resources, and the way our students are accessing those are using AI. And we're using data, from BibliU, for example, to kind of inform and help students with their learning. And then I guess from the socioeconomic side, I would say flexibility and employability. As you know, Coventry have made a commitment to provide all their undergraduates with their course essential reading And this is a commitment that has been in place for a long time, since 2012, actually. And regardless of all the kind of financial challenges that we've been experiencing, that commitment remains. That's something that we, are really proud of, and we want to make sure, all of our students have access to learning resources. I think that is one of the things. And then we do a graduate destinations. Sahaana may have experienced this when she was here at the university, and that's really to provide students with an opportunity, providing industry links, providing that experience. And again, with our BibliU Champion scheme, we were able to kind of use that, and BibliU were really helpful in that they provided our champions with that opportunity to go and have a look at what it's really like to be in that organisation, kind of like day-to-day work, and get that first-hand experience. So a real life experience, and I think that's what we need more of, really, and hopefully provide greater opportunities for our graduates.
How's the BibliU Student Champion scheme helped reshape the way people are interacting with the library, of course, the course resources, and how do the staff there provide support for the scheme as well?
Yes, absolutely. I think this scheme's helped a lot. I think, as we know, peer-to-peer advocacy works best. We can tell students, these resources are great, but there's going to be a different message they hear when one of their peers says that. So this is something that we're really passionate about. It was something that was put together a few years back, and it's been extremely successful. And thanks to BibliU for providing incentives for students to enrol on this scheme. We've done quite a lot, actually, not only to help Coventry improve the resources and how we deliver them, but also hopefully for BibliU as well. We've had focus groups just to get the student voice. I think that's really important. Student experience comes very high on our list of priorities, and anything we can do to kind of improve that is really important. So I think these schemes helped in doing that. Our champions have had opportunities to be involved in promotion events, open days. They've helped with the social media. So there's been quite a lot of involvement. I mean, Sahaana was one of our stars. We were very fortunate to have some very good student champions, and made a huge impact. It's just so rewarding when you see kind of an inquiry desk and just surrounded by students. So it's not the same as like if one of the staff were kind of manning that desk, compared to one of our students. It's far more engaging, I think, and hopefully more rewarding as well. For you as well, Sahaana, I hope.
Yeah, it definitely was. I agree.
It'd be great, Sahaana, to hear a bit about your experience with the program. Like, how did you find out about it? What were you doing day to day? Did it impact your studies? Obviously, then how you came about connecting with BibliU for the employment as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is kind of my favorite story to share with everyone. I think I came about this student champion initiative, scheme, on the library, like Cov Uni Library Instagram post. And then I was in my placement year during that time. So kind of wanted to still be involved with uni stuff in some way. So I was like, okay, let me just give this a try. It's not going to take up a lot of time. So I ended up trying once, and then I couldn't get in the link, and I was like, maybe this is a sign for me to not do this. And then I tried again later by texting them saying, hi, the link is not working, could you give me another try, please? And then they sent me over to somewhere else, and then I tried again, and then I was called in for an interview, and then we spoke, and I got such good vibes from it. I was like, oh my god, yes, I want to do this. And then I think that's just how I got in. It was a really good experience. They are a lovely team that I had the pleasure of working with. It was the honest communications that we had. I could just talk about anything, and if I had issues with helping with some of the stuff that they needed help with, I could just tell them at any point of time, and they would understand. And make changes based on that. I got to work on a plenty of things. So I created a few Instagram posts like during Christmas period, Halloween, times like that. And that went really good. And I think I also did a few reels for TikTok when they started it. So that was really fun. And then I think I helped most with the feature testing in the background. So this was when we were testing Engage, where we had like the highlighting features and all of those stuff, the quiz and everything. So I gave feedback on that and they found that helpful. So I think that is kind of a little impact I had there. Also, one of the favorite things that happened is that I got the chance to visit the old BibliU office in London, and I got to meet Alex, and I was introduced to John because I was interested in design stuff, right? And he does product. So
he also studied design, didn't he?
Yeah, I did.
John,
So,
I think he studied design.
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
To know that. But yeah, so Alex introduced me to John and Denise from HR. So we all had a conversation. I remember coming with a diary full of notes asking Denise about how does successful candidate at BibliU look like and everything, and making notes on that day. And I remember leaving super inspired. I went home and I told my parents, I want to work here one day. So I'm going to add BibliU to my career bucket list. And then I didn't know that life would work in a way that I would get to work at BibliU just right after graduation. That was like the most insane thing ever. So knowing what BibliU does kind of was pivotal in my career, because that's when I started learning about edtech and I started exploring more into it and I loved it. So edtech was also like the field that I wanted to be in as a designer. So in my final year, we were asked to pick a specialism to create, major projects based on. And then I chose edtech because I was super passionate because of BibliU. Somehow everything came up really well together in the end. So that's kind of my story.
Super awesome and inspiring. It's nice to hear. I think for Dal as well, to see like all the dots tying up between the students.
Absolutely. It was interesting to hear Sahaana mention Engage there. So when we had our first student focus group that the champions arranged, one of the things that students fed back to us was that it would be great to have some kind of quiz within the book. And it feels like in a kind of direct response to that student feedback, we've been able to, obviously, you've developed that, and we've been able to adopt it within our resources, which is great. There's certain disciplines who particularly were keen to use that, especially like nursing students. They requested that. They thought it was such a good way to test the knowledge, to kind of reading through that text and just really make sure they'd understood everything properly. But the way the quizzes work, that it's not repeating the same question all the time. Different questions are generated. That's some really positive feedback from all disciplines, but especially nursing students. And they were the ones who kind of requested it originally. So that's great. Thanks for picking up on that.
Yeah, it's super cool, isn't it, Dal? I think we were on campus, Dal and I and Phil and a couple others the other day talking about this year going forward. And as you say, Engage brings that kind of courseware level experience with the quizzes and the analytics. I think, Dal, you were saying it looks like usage for Engage versus just a normal flat digital file is much higher, right?
Yeah.
Engagement is much better.
Absolutely. And this was a pleasant surprise. So as I said previously, we use the data is so valuable, kind of having that data to kind of inform choices for adoptions going forward, but also so important to make those early interventions if students are perhaps struggling. The academics really value having that information. So one of the things we looked at was chapter level engagement, because this is something that we would look at when we were ordering resources for, say, next year. And we found it was quite interesting because some of our expensive publisher texts didn't have huge engagement on all of the chapters. So, it's kind of seems to be a trend that most books you won't get every textbook read from cover to cover. That's just a given, and it will just be certain chapters. But there's one book in particular anatomy and physiology book that we adopted from one of our life publishers. And we found that there was like 35% engagement on that book, if I remember correctly. And then we also flipped to open for that particular topic. Again, we wanted to see what the comparison was, the data on that. And it was incredible. Would you believe there's 100% engagement on the open content? So that is an amazing piece of information to be able to share with everybody, especially when we're talking to our academics and trying to persuade them to flip to open. So, and it just goes to prove it's really looking at that content and ensuring that the content aligns to pedagogy and that we've got the right text there. I think there's a huge shift now across the sector, not just at Coventry. I think Coventry, we are informed by the other partner that we're working with, helping us to flip, that we have done it at scale this year. So we flipped an incredible amount of text to open, which is great. This is really the way forward. But it's also good to see that it's not just about financial sustainability. It's looking at what the content actually meets with the pedagogical needs and aligns to learning outcomes, which we've been doing. So having that data is just evidence to verify that works.
Yeah, it's super cool seeing people use it, because obviously we talked about this, Dal, and Phil had talked about gamification and how we can incentivize people to engage more. But then actually seeing it in practice, like some of those ideas working. Obviously it's early stages, there's room for improvement. Hopefully things will get better, but I think the early data coming back is really promising. And Sahaana, curious to know, I mean, it's probably a while since you remember playing with Engage, but how in your mind, how did Engage differ from just a flat BibliU experience?
I think it kind of made me more motivated to know more about the content, I guess, in a way. I don't know if I can say this. It wasn't boring, just like plain text and stuff. Having more features to it added more enthusiasm for me to know more about the content. So I think I would say that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's obviously been a while, but yeah, no, I'm super happy with how things have rolled out there, but a lot more to go. And I think particularly starting to build in more AI features. Obviously, AI supports the creation of the questions, but it could help the faculty and professors modify, customize the content as well. I can help with that. We have an AI publishing partner who that are obviously a publishing house, but what they do is help write like custom OER using AI. So that's something Dal's chatting to that partner about too. So there's some really interesting stuff happening, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of years to seeing how it all unfolds. And obviously awesome to have partners like Coventry that take risks and actually try new technologies. It's all well and good in education to sit back and say, oh, that's a cool technology. Yeah, it's cool, but we'll wait and see what happens. But you actually need institutions trying stuff for then others to then say, oh, actually, okay, we should do this too. So I'm curious to learn a bit more about this program. So there's an industry experience day in London. What was that like, Sahaana? And did you manage to connect to anyone in EdTech there or elsewhere through the program? EdTech's quite a small sector, so I'm curious on that as well.
I think I just spoke to Alex a lot on that day. Just remembering telling him my career aspirations. That was the first time I met and I started talking about all that stuff. We were just chatting and then he told me about there's a Google office there, you could try there and all that stuff. But I think the key thing is that I tried to keep in touch with him throughout my time here, so I could get at least a chance of getting into BibliU at some point. I think that kind of was the reason, because I kept checking in with him every 2-3 months or something, and we just talk about all this stuff, how I have been helping so far and stuff like that. So that was really helpful for me. So I think it kind of defined my path in some way, just doing this whole scheme there.
Oh, that's great. And it's really cool schemes like this, look to touch on different points of your journey and try to basically connect you with employers at different points of time. Dal, I'm curious, is there anything else you wanted to touch on the Student Champion program and what it entails, like your thoughts on it, etc.?
So it's something that we do every year. At the moment, we're kind of at that recruitment phase for a new student champion, because obviously Sahaana left us last year. So initially when we started the program, we kind of covered off, we had quite a few student champions, and I think commitment is something that sometimes students struggle with. Obviously they have their studies come first, so and I think we found after a while they kind of started to peter off. So towards the end, I think we had 2 student champions, and I think it's not how many we have, it's kind of that level of commitment that they can give and the interest. So like Sahaana's obviously going to express her interest in this field. I think it really helps if there's an interest there also, so that they can be more engaging. So we're going to continue with the scheme. It's obviously been really helpful, and although it's changed slightly in that the way we were engaging before is slightly different, but now we have the Engage product that's within our books for students to promote. And I think, again, they would be the best advocates to their peers for that. And we'll continue finding creative ways, really, to kind of get through to students. I think social media, obviously, is key, but it's nice to kind of attend events, open days, different faculty events. So I think we'll continue with that this year. Maybe we have Sahaana back in to kind of say, here is a shining example. In fact, we need to do more actually to promote the fact that we have a shared success here.
I'd love to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that would be great.
Go back. Maybe we can send you as part of a BibliU product discovery mission or something. But it's a really good point, Dal. I always found, I went to a government school in rural Australia. I was lucky, it was actually a pretty good school, but we're out of the way of everything that's going on. And I think I was lucky there were a couple of students, a bit like Sahaana, that had gotten onto a certain science program or gotten to a certain university or a certain internship. And that certainly gave me something. Like I'd go home after high school and, there's assembly or whatever, and that graduate or a senior student had talked about that experience. I'd go home and Google it and maybe then start to think about doing it myself. So I think you're totally right. Having actual success stories and actual students that look like them, that are like not that much older than them, is critical for all of this stuff, and particularly social mobility in general, just indicating to a kid, I could go to university, or like I could do this, or I could work for a tech company. So we should definitely make that happen. I think it's really important. Well, I really appreciate you both jumping on today. So thank you, Sahaana. Thank you, Dal. Obviously, I've loved working with Coventry, and Sahaana, everything I hear, you've been doing awesome here at BibliU too. So we're excited to have you on the team. And yes, thanks everyone for jumping on. Obviously, the usual. So subscribe, give us a like, or wherever you're listening to this, whether that's Spotify, YouTube, and we look forward to having you join us next time. Thank you.